Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We are here with yet another episode of Haikyu, episode 13. We are essentially at the midway or just past the midway point, if I'm counting that correctly. But the semifinals or the preliminaries have finally begun, and we had our first, well, not our first match, but we had another match in the last episode. Yeah, that was our first match in the last episode for the preliminaries. And against Ogi Minami, I think the name of the school is. And that was a really interesting episode. And in true, Haikyuu fashion, of course, we got something of a backstory for this other team that Karasuno faced. And I have to say I really liked the captain for the team, even though he wasn't a part of the actual game itself, which is just amazing. The mere fact that and I'm not sure if it was deliberate, in terms of what the writers intended for that episode, but it was just interesting to see that. Looking at the dynamic between the captain and the players initially, he seemed to be very much afraid of them, as though they were the bullies in the school, who seemed to have found some common ground in something like volleyball, which you'd think would be unheard of, but at the end of the day, they were still putting on that tough facade, but they respected him, and I love that scene at the very end where he says I'll be back next year, because he still has hopes that they can achieve what he could not, and I just love the dynamic between that team. They gave it their all. They didn't make it. Karasuno, regardless of who they're actually playing against, they will give it their all, and they did here, and it was a good match. They took the first 2 straight sets, and as I've said, I don't think we're going to be losing until, we will not lose until we face Seijo. I strongly believe that based on what happened in the last match with Seijo, that we have to beat them, in this arc. I don't know if we'll go on to beat Shirato Izawa, but we'll definitely beat Seijo, based on where the story is going so far. So that should be interesting. Our next match is the little giant versus the actual giant, a 2-meter tall player that we're going to be going up against. It should be very, very interesting. I don't think we've gone up against anyone that tall before, but they've said he's a first year as well, much like Kageyama and Hinata. So I guess it'll in my mind, I'm thinking it'll depend on how good he actually is as a player, whether he has basics and the foundation down. I don't think height alone will be enough to carry you through. But who knows, as Coach Yukai said, old man Yukai, who's there so we can't lose, he said, height itself is a weapon. So let's see how effectively they use it, all right? So let's check it out. Does he even need to jump is the question. What I'm thinking is, whether this will be something similar to Ushiwaka that I mentioned in the last episode being left-handed, which I think is going to be a weapon for him, because, most players are not left-handed, so especially for the ones who are receiving his spikes, it may be a challenge for them, and they may have to adapt. So I do wonder if it's going to be something similar here. Because of his height, the angle at which he's going to be hitting the ball is just going to be unpredictable, and they're going to have to try to adjust. We've never seen Karasuno, forced to do that just yet. They've always gone up against players who are good, but, are mostly by the book, in terms of their play style. No, they can afford to go head on with him being that tall. Yep, let's go right over the block. I would have thought maybe even Tsukishima would be a bit higher, given that he's the tallest one on the team, but I guess not. They've got the first point. Come on, Hinata. I mean, he's got... Yeah. He must have seen the hand there, and knowing that that couldn't possibly have gone over. Even Nishinoya had some problem receiving it just now, so you know they're gonna have to do some on the fly adjustment. Who's that? Oh. I don't know about that. Use it. Does he want to use the new quick? There's no way Hinata can push past him. He's not even gonna get there, yeah. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I saw that coming. Okay, good call. Kakugawa. So this really is, you know, he's literally carrying the entire team on his back. Come on, Kageyama. We need a point. It's interesting. Yeah, you know, I'm liking this because normally when something unpredictable happens, you know, they might panic and they might start making mistakes and so on. But everyone seems relatively calm, and that's good. I don't know if that came from the experience they gained in the training camp, but they're watching the plays and assessing and analyzing. I think they're gonna come up with a strategy for him. They could just do what the team did to Hinata when they were trying to stop his free quick, which was just take a step back and just see where the ball is going and then receive it, as opposed to trying to outright block it, which is impossible in this case. No need. No need for sympathy here. He's only been playing for 6 months. He seems very disinterested in the sport altogether. I feel like it's one of those things where, okay, you're tall, so play this sport. Not sure why he wouldn't be in basketball instead, although that height isn't so unusual in basketball. Here it comes. Okay. So they know where the ball is going. Okay. Good. All right. Counter-attack time. Now it worked. His block is short because he had to jump diagonally, so it worked. Come on. Yeah, I think that's what Kageyama wants to do. He wants to do the new quick. That's a salivating. I've been waiting to hear that. However, you guys already seen it at this point, right? During their practice, because I think both he and Hinata and Kageyama were there practicing at one point. All right. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be able to react fast enough. Too late. Catch his face. Yeah, the one he's gonna have the most problem with is the shortest. And he's getting past you. Alright. You have the lead. Yes. He's in the back now. Okay. Should make things a bit easier for us. Or we'll see whether the rest of the team is actually pretty good or not. Alright, so you've got it. So this team really is just as good as this one player, you know? Set point, match point. That's a good question. I've always been wondering how exactly Hinata is timing when he needs to move, you know? I suppose, I mean, yeah. You just watch the setter and see the setter's movement and decide when to move off. Yeah, he has to move first. Oh? Zero tempo? Minus tempo, okay. Interesting. But that's it. I mean, I'm thinking all they need to do is focus on Hinata then, because the other players who don't need to react in the same way, because Hinata mostly has to do that because of his height. But if they don't see the other spikers moving, then they know it's going to Hinata. So there are ways I can think of to play around that or to figure out his movement. Alright, try to outpoint them. Oh, alright, they're still getting some points in. And he actually seems like he's into the game now. Damn you, Hinata. He's motivating the people across the other side, the court, you know, to his own team's detriment. Synchronized attack. Yeah. First tempo, okay. I didn't realize they do it in different tempos now. Nice. Yeah. He's into the game now. Still so hard to stop him. When he comes back, I imagine they're gonna lose this. When he comes back next year, he's gonna be a beast though, you know? Alright, match point. Yeah, we got this. That knows what he's doing. Yeah, I've been waiting for them to figure this out. Yeah, don't try to block it. Okay, all right, that's what they're doing. Allow them to receive it a lot easier. Take him down, guys. Who's it gonna be? It's gonna be a decoy, isn't it? Decoy? Oh! The rebound? Is he gonna try the rebound? Oh, okay. That umbrella move that he pulled last time. He hasn't used it since. Nice. Nice one, Hinata. Is that what it's called? A wipe? Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be something next year. Come on, guys, keep the grades up.
ひなた、どうかした？
これでやっと大王様とか牛若ジャパンと同じ投票
They're
だ。
on the same level as Seijo. I don't know about, you know, Shirato Izawa.
弁当箱忘れた。
That's happening here. I wonder if this is what if this is their next match.
お前らが倒したのか。2メートル。
They're at the very least in the same bracket.
もし代表決定戦で当たることがあったら。
Yeah, they're definitely gonna play them. There's no way this random encounter was introduced for no reason.
完全にひなたに興味が移ったみたいに見えたよ。なんかごめんね。ありがとね。はい、忘れ物。そのお弁当の包み、かわいい。
The gangster walk. Staring them down. Yeah, they're definitely going to be playing them. They've got to be.
忘れ物見つかったか？
ああ、かわいい包みだ。
言わなくてもいいですよ。
All right, there we have it, episode 13. What's that cute moment there with you know, Hinata and Kyoko? I know they first introduced Yachi. It seemed as though she was supposed to be something of a love interest for Hinata, which I'm glad they haven't focused on because I don't think it's necessary. I'd be fine with it either way, but you know, I do wonder from this whether he has a crush on Kyoko or something, you know. And of all the people that have been hitting on her, you know, it's not you know, either Nishi or any of the others that actually piques her interest, but it's actually Hinata. That would be hilarious. But anyway, yeah, we faced off against the giant and we came out victorious. Yeah, it wasn't an easy match. And as I mentioned during the reaction, I do wonder whether this is hinting at, you know, other schools, in particular Ushiwaka and Shirito Izawa, who may have, you know, certain skill sets that the team just has not encountered yet. Here we saw where height was used as a weapon. And I do believe, you know, Ushiwaka's being left-handed is going to be something of a weapon that they need to overcome as well. Because even in this match, we saw that demonstrated with the height of that 2-meter player. The angle that at which he hits the ball differs from what they'd normally expect, to the point where even Nishinoya had trouble receiving it, you know, and it took a bit for them to adjust. And I imagine the same thing will happen with a left-handed player, because again, most players in the tournament are right-handed, and I think it's probably very rare that you'd encounter a left-handed player, let alone one that's the ace. And you know, so I think that is going to be something that they'll need to overcome, both in the blocks, being from a left-handed spiker, and you know, from receiving as well, right? I think they'll need to learn to adjust on the court, similar to what they did here, to try to beat that team, because all the teams that they've faced so far, you know, they've been pretty straightforward and by the books in terms of their strategy and their plays. So that's going to be you know, an exceptional match when we do come across Shirito Izawa. Yeah, so I'm glad to see Hinata. You know, I've said throughout season 1 and season 2, as much as I love the duo of Hinata and Kageyama, I want Hinata to be able to battle on his own without being reliant on this free quick, you know. Although this version of the quick, this new version of the quick, is more of a collaboration between the two than it was in the past. You know, it's more reliant on Hinata now being able to direct the ball. But I still don't want them to be solely. I don't want him to be solely dependent on this as his weapon because, he needs to be able to operate under the premise that Kageyama is not present. What then? If Kageyama is not on the court, you should be able to battle with any setter that is there with you. So, and I've said for some time now that at some point I would want Hinata and Kageyama to, be on opposing teams in maybe opposing schools. This is only season 2, and if I remember correctly, it's currently at season 4. Could be wrong there, but I think it's currently at season 4. But what happens if maybe Kageyama gets recruited by another school, and then I would want to see that. I think that would be very interesting. This entire rivalry started with them, saying that they will beat the other, and they clearly can't do that on being on the same team. I would love if they ended up on opposing schools and ended up facing each other. If that's how the manga or anime ends, that would be phenomenal. I think that would be phenomenal. Alright guys, be sure to post down below, let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. Remember to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.